saggy shelf thing.
Yeah, okay, go on.
Welcome to Paulie and Me. I believe this is our 4th episode in our series. I am Loren Margulies. I am the me of Paulie and Me, and
I am Paul Warschauer. I'm the Paulie in the Paulie and Me.
And we come to you just to discuss random stuff, nothing special, nothing in particular. We're just sharing and musing some ideas that we have, some things that we normally discuss when Paul and I get together and talk about stuff. And one of them, a real sort of sticking point with us, a bone of contention, as it were, is comedy. Because both Paul and I are huge fans of comedy, and we have, let's just say, varying opinions on who the comic kings are. Paul.
Well, today is a special edition. We're going to spend a little more time discussing the theory of comedy, not so much the theory of comedy, but our favorite comedians, because as we all know, comedy is extremely subjective. You know, what I think is funny, Loren may not think is funny. And we know particularly that what men find funny, farts, poop humor, boobs, these are not things that necessarily appeal to all women. So comedy, first of all, we have to say is subjective.
And what I find funny is funny. What Paul finds funny usually is poo-poo.
Yeah, you see, there it is. It's all subjective. I'm not just poo-poo oriented. You know, I like belch humor too.
Yes, a good burp is always good.
Right. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
The funniest comedian, in my opinion, in all time was a Greek named Aristophanies.
Wow, you really are going back.
Yep.
Please continue.
446 to 336 BC. He was the father of what we now know as modern comedy. He invented the concept of slapstick and of characters and the rest of it. I've directed a couple of his plays, including The Frogs, which would play now. And as a matter of fact, it did. A new version of it opened in 2005 with Nathan Lane, who played the lead in The Frogs. It was an updated version. So King of Comedy going back, 1,300 to 2,300 years. They were still talking about slapstick and mistaken identity and, all that stuff.
Okay, and me, for those of you who are not born 1,500 years ago.
2,300.
Thank you. I say Nathan Lane, pound for pound, the funniest guy in comedy.
And
that's what I say.
I would agree that he ranks up there amongst the top 25 best comedian. Now, he's not a writer of comedy. We're talking about just a performer. I will totally disagree with Mel Brooks, who I think is one of the masters. He's in my top 10. I think the casting of Nathan Lane in The Modern Producers was a total mistake.
See, I don't agree. Even though I know what your complaint is, I still think he was funny as Max Bialystock.
He was not as funny as the original Zero Mostel was in the original movie. I think it was the 60s. Because Zero Mostel played this womanizer, this lecher, who opens up a cabinet and looks at all the old ladies that he's had sex with and collected money. And you believe that Zero Mostel has had sex with all these old ladies. With great respect, Nathan Lane is not a ladies' man, to be polite.
He's a little bit effeminate to come across as a glaring, horny, woman-chasing old man.
Right.
Yes.
We would now call them a misogynist.
Yes.
In the 60s, it was kind of cute to have the old guy chase the young girl. It's still funny, but it's not as appropriate as we could now tell from Louis C.K. and the rest of these comedians who got in trouble.
Right, true.
The producers lasted, and it did very well. But to me, every time I saw Nathan Lane and he looked at a pretty lady, instead of going, yikes, what nice boobs, Nathan Lane would say, I love your shoes, honey. You know, so there's a difference.
That's almost like the feeling you get now looking at Rock Hudson movies with Doris Day, where he's all over her. And now, in retrospect, we think to ourselves, he's more interested in Doris's brother than her.
But
So
he was a much better actor,
yeah,
in my
but so
opinion, than me.
it's
You know, he could play the straight guy.
yeah, but it takes something away from it, knowing the backstory. So that being said, who do you put as your top comedic person then?
Well, to me, again, you got to divide it into writers and performers. I mean, to me, one of the best writers of all time, it was George Carlin, who wrote situation comedy and then performed it, but his writing skills were impeccable. I mean, he knew how to write a sketch for television, for the rest of it. He was a great performer.
I can't argue George Carlin.
Okay. Then I'll give you another one who was a great performer and could play any role, was Robin Williams.
Yes.
Funny in real life, funny on the talk shows, hysterical in the movies, and the variety of parts he played showed that he had a great range as an actor to be both funny and filled with pathos. I mean, Good Morning Vietnam was a master class in how you could be a comedic actor and still pull no punches about the political aspects of that Vietnam War.
Well, that being said, sorry, I can't help it. I'm ninja-like, and I'm always on guard. Sorry. That being said, Nathan Lane and Robin Williams in The Birdcage was perfection.
Perfection. I mean, obviously it was made from a French film a little bit earlier, La Cage aux Folles, and then they made it into a musical, and then the two of them did. It's again a great example of great writing, and the great comedic abilities on both those guys. I mean, Gene Hackman, who plays this conservative guy and has to dress up as a woman. By the way, he was hideous as a woman.
Yes.
But still very, very well written and crafted for a mass audience. So that's, again, going back to what is subjective. The Three Stooges, to me, are still funny. Monty Python is still funny. These are obviously some of it is cerebral. You have to be kind of clever to understand some of the Monty Python stuff because it's British. But we've learned to understand that the parrot sketch and the Minister of Silly Walks are English humor that somehow translates to America. It didn't in the very beginning, when they first got here in the 70s on PBS or whatever it was.
Okay, now I'll give you two guys that both great comedians, but also, and we've learned this, comedians also make good dramatic actors. We've seen this in a number of occasions. Bill Murray is a good example. He can do both. Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. Great.
Pryor was another one of those geniuses who could write and perform and was cutting edge to the degree that it made people uncomfortable. And that's part of the nature of comedy, like Lenny Bruce. Very uncomfortable to watch, but very funny. And of course, got into big trouble with everybody. So did Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
So many people don't know that Richard Pryor was scheduled to be the original Sheriff Bart in Blazing Saddles, but he had a little accident with that crack pipe, burned his face, and Pryor was not able to be in it. So they got another actor, Cleavon Little. Although you look at the credits, Richard Pryor is still credited with part of the story and part of the script.
Wow, I didn't know that. Know that.
That's why we do these shows, is to teach the world about a lot of things. So
I've learned something. Thank you, sir. I've learned something from you. Thank you.
Now, getting to the other kind of writers part of this thing, to me, Seth MacFarlane, who wrote Family Guy and American Dad, brilliant satirist, and he writes about modern day. And of course, the guys from South Park and The Simpsons, also great writers.
Yeah.
So,
and Seth MacFarlane is the whole package. He can write, he can act, and he can sing. He's got like an operatic kind of singing voice. He's amazing.
He does. He has all of the elements that make for a brilliant kind of. Oh, hello. I'm on TV, so sorry, I'll be quiet. No, here. Let's go into the garage. Vicky will be here in a minute. Okay.
Hi, can I help you? Can
No,
I
no,
help you?
We're working on our library today, so.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so yes, so Seth MacFarlane, the guys who wrote The Simpsons, and of course the two geniuses, Parker and can't remember the other guy from the South Park group. They also wrote a musical called the Book of Mormon, which was wildly received on Broadway. A musical. So here's talented writers. They're not performers, but they're writers.
Sure. Okay, now let me give you one in the ladies category. Writer and actor, comedic actor, and can do series too. Tina McFey.
Tina Fey. There's no Mick.
Tina Fey, excuse me, Tina Fey.
Brilliant, exactly. She started as a writer on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
She ended up as the as the news lady with Amy Poehler. But she could write, she directs, and she stars. She may be the funniest comedian we have. Now, people would say Julia Louis-Dreyfus is also a double threat, but I don't know how much she actually writes. Tina Fey is actually a writer who became a performer.
Yeah.
Very talented, sometimes cutting edge. She wrote a musical called Mean Girls, which did very well, still on Broadway. And, again, social commentary about bitchy girls who are clique-oriented and so forth. Very topical.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict that she's going to start writing some more serious stuff. She's got it in her, like a lot of the other comedians that want to be serious.
Yeah. So, and I'll give you the last one because he's going to be in the new upcoming reality show, American Wiener. He's in my top 10 of funny, entertaining people I know, Paul Warshauer.
Oh, well, this is also sudden. This is unbelievable. I feel that I am a natural comedian because my observations are those of many other Americans. I have a little more of maybe I'm 66, so maybe my vantage point is going back to, a little further than most of your younger viewers. But yeah, I think I'm going to have fun. We're gonna travel the country with a cute British girl and talk about American wieners. We're going to talk about
American
hot dogs. American wieners. Coming soon on a little screen to you.
Full screen.
Full screen. No. Little screen is television. Little screen. Full screen is a movie. So
yes,
can't even see the end.
No.
Well, that's kind of a look at it from Aristophanes all the way up to Paul Warshauer. It's kind of a nice stretch of history.
It's a range.
3,000 years. And we didn't even talk about Commedia dell'arte, Shakespeare, any of the other guys. But all of those are smushed in to comedy, which is something we view as subjectively funny.
Yes.
So that's it for this episode. Obviously, we'll take your comments and questions later, but that was a pretty good one for a short piece.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. Keep an eye out for Paulie and me and American Wiener.
It'll be here somewhere on this screen. We don't know which way. But for now, we are saying goodbye and have a good laugh. Will you, please?
Yes. Have a good laugh.
Good laugh and a good laugh and a good BM. Two of the best things in the world.
Ooh, okay. Bye.
Bye.